Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Questions with Kurt. I have here my husband Donald. We recently got married, and today we wanted to talk about the question of what factors promote a sustainable relationship.
Now obviously these are not like all the factors in the world, but these are the factors that we thought about.
Not saying that we're relationship experts or marriage experts. Over the 5 years we've been together, we've certainly learned certain things that help us, and we wanted to kind of bring that out in the open, see what people thought, if other people have other opinions about, or other factors that they know of and think about that help them have a sustainable relationship.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start off asking you, Donald, what's one factor that you think promotes a sustainable relationship?
Well, I think for me, you have to know yourself and what values you prioritize. Some people prioritize money, some people prioritize family. So you just have to figure out what it is that you want in a relationship and then find someone that sort of matches that. Does that make sense?
Right. People are only one person, and so they probably won't have everything that you're looking for, because you can prioritize, as you said, money, looks, good sex, wanting to have a family. Some people, for instance, another thing is they prioritize common interests and being able to do a lot of fun things together. Some people might not necessarily want that and are fine with separate lives. I know some people want to be with someone who's super ambitious career-wise. Some people want to have a partner who's a homemaker and will kind of be their support system. Let's say you want someone who is ambitious in their career, and you end up with someone who wants to be more of a homemaker, and you try to change them. Chances are they're never going to be an ambitious, career-driven person, whereas the opposite end, you end up with someone who's very career-driven and ambitious, and you want them to stay home and, take care of the house and the kids or whatnot. You're not going to change them to be a homemaker, so you should kind of accept that people are going to be who they are and don't try to change them. If that's what you're looking for, select someone who does embody those values and those ideals and goals in life.
You definitely have to figure out what you want in life. Obviously, being a power couple, being in a relationship with someone that's very good looking, these all sound great, but you have to figure out what level these values are to you and how you prioritize them.
Right. So now that's talking about the positives and what you're looking for someone, but I think the second point that we kind of want to make is know your limits. Be honest with yourself about what you can and cannot tolerate. So for instance, if there's something you absolutely cannot deal with, if there's a habit or a behavior that you see in your partner that you just upsets you and it's really something you can't let go, and you communicate this to your partner as early as you can. What's useful is that this feedback will give your partner a chance to make adjustments, and if you communicate in a way that's not hurtful and it's as constructive as possible, then your partner has a chance to make adjustments. And if they can't, if there's a behavior or a habit that they have, they can't change it, and you absolutely cannot tolerate it, then that's probably a sign that you guys aren't meant to be together, and you can go your separate ways. And if it happens early on, good, because you didn't waste so much time and energy.
So another common thing I hear all the time is oh, I can change someone. Now obviously you can change things whether it being pushing the chair after dinner,
or not stepping on the carpet with your shoes on.
Yes, not stopping on the carpet with your shoes on. Tiny little habits that you can change, like the ones we just talked about.
You cannot really change someone's core personality traits. And as Donald said, it's not really talking about superficial things like whether they push in a chair or step on the carpet with your shoes on, but more things like how jealous they are of other people, or how messy or OCD, clean and neat they are. Those, I think, traits will probably remain relatively the same or stable throughout someone's life. And so if you get together with a really messy person, you probably won't turn them into a neat person.
Yeah, you will not make them OCD and clean all of a sudden.
Right. And if you notice early on in the relationship that they're super jealous every time a friend or they perceive a friend flirting with them and they get crazy jealous, and like that's probably going to be something they're going to be like the rest of their lives, and you sort of have to take the attitude that you won't be able to change that or get that habit or behavior out of them.
Yeah, and if you want to be with them, that's going to be something that you're going to have to deal with,
right?
And it's going to have to accept that that's a part of them,
right? Relating back to our previous point about knowing your limits, you really have to gauge whether these are characteristics you like, or if it's something less positive, whether it's something you can live with, and
like if you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, comfortable with it, you can tolerate it, because chances are you're not going to change them.
Mm-hmm.
Other personality traits are, for instance, how giving or how selfish they are, how they deal with stressful situations, how they handle conflict. Do they value being able to eat carbs and ice cream for dinner, or do they value staying lean and having a six-pack until their 50s? If you want to always be able to eat ice cream whenever you want, you probably shouldn't end up with someone who's a health
nut.
And
because like the last thing you want is in your partner is to build resentment.
Right.
So like if you're the healthy eating partner, you don't want to constantly be nagging at your partner for eating ice cream or eating carbs.
Yeah.
Because it's just not going to be healthy for either of you.
Right. Clearly eating ice cream is a big part of our lives. This keeps coming up.
Which thankfully we both like ice cream.
Exactly, we both love ice cream.
So chances are you're not going to change your partner, which leads us to our next point.
Which is
you should accept your partner for who he or she is.
Right. And I know this sounds obvious, but it's actually not that easy, because everyone's different. There will be conflict, and sometimes it'll be a lot of work to resolve these conflicts, right? You can minimize that amount of conflict by really truly accepting your partner as they are without building up resentment. And without building up resentment is the most crucial part of it. We all try to be chill and let things go and be understanding. And it can be, super cute and nice early on, like the first couple of months, first couple of years. But since this episode is about maintaining sustainable relationships, we're bringing up really letting things go. And not letting go, but keeping a score in your head. Because that mentally keeping score builds up resentment, and it can be damaging after many years of doing it.
Yeah, and it's easier said than done. It's easy to say like, we're easygoing and chill people, and then sort of like holding it inside you, and
right.
Sort of like you were saying, like keeping score.
Right.
You have to, I don't know how, but you have to figure out how to accept your partner for
and I think it's always going to be work, because like if we get into a fight or a conflict, really letting it go means like not bringing it back.
Which is
months
again
from then. Remember that time where even if it's in the back of your head and you're thinking about it, and that's kind of informing the things you say or the way you behave towards your partner. That's still not letting it go, because that resentment is still there from the past thing they did.
Obviously, all couples fight, and it's not healthy when you're fighting to not just focus on the present fight, but bringing up past things.
Yeah.
I think that is very unhealthy.
And it's really
resolving issues.
And it makes it even harder to
resolve ground.
Yeah, to resolve the current conflict if you're bringing in stuff from the past and stuff that's not relevant, that you still haven't really let go, even though you said you'd let go of it, but you really actually didn't. So the next factor that we wanted to talk about was being aware of your power dynamics. Constantly talk about it, dissect it, be comfortable with it, and I think there will always be power dynamics. Every relationship will be different. One person may have more money than the other, or have higher social status than the other person. One person will be more demanding, the other person will be more easygoing. One person could be more needy, one person could be more distant. And so this creates a somewhat imbalanced power dynamic sometimes. And that's okay. The power dynamics don't have to be equal. They probably will never be equal usually, but the danger comes in is when the power dynamics remains unsaid and not talked about. Talking about your power dynamics creates a safe space for both parties to kind of air their grievances. If they want something to change, it makes it easier to talk about and discuss when it's constantly communicated from the beginning. Communicating power dynamics also creates an opportunity for both parties to acknowledge what each person brings to the relationship, brings to the table, and so it prevents you from taking each other for granted and appreciating each other more throughout the relationship.
Yeah, if you're able to communicate the power dynamics, you're able to not build resentment towards the other person for those power dynamics.
Right.
And it makes it less taboo.
Right, exactly. Because I think making the power dynamics taboo is another potential source of toxicity and eroding that lovey-dovey feeling that you want to keep in your relationship. One person could be more jealous than the other. One person could need more reassurance than the other. One person could have more trauma and baggage than the other person. One person may take on a more of the caretaker role, while the other person takes on the more taken care of role, and that's okay. What's important is to communicate that and to acknowledge it, and so that no one's left in the lurch.
I don't think there ever will be a power dynamic where you're both completely equal.
Absolutely equal, exactly.
Because it doesn't make sense. You always have different power dynamics, whatever it would be.
Yeah, because you're two different people. And so the next factor that we wanted to talk about that helps promote a sustainable relationship is this attitude that you're constantly choosing to stay together.
Yeah.
I know this goes against the traditional sort of beliefs and values of commitment and staying together for life till death do us part, but I think that attitude is actually very stifling. I can see this in the traditional sayings like, oh, I need to trap myself a man, or oh, I tricked her into marrying me, or oh, don't show your real self until you're married.
And then you can become like lazy.
Right. It's so what these sayings and these attitudes are implying is that once you're married, it's game over. You can be as lazy, unpleasant, and mean as you can, and the person has no choice but to stay with you.
Like you can let yourself go after they put that ring on you, or vice versa.
Right.
Which is not the case for a healthy, sustainable relationship.
And I think the sad thing is most people are raised with this mentality of like, oh, once you're trapped into the relationship, that's it, you're done. Like you can do whatever you want now. Our viewpoint is to have that attitude that your spouse could walk away from the relationship at any point that they wanted to. They're free to leave whenever. Like, all bets are off. The reason why it's healthier is that it encourages both parties to constantly work at being the kind of person your spouse wants to be with. And yes, people do change as they get older, but the crucial thing is changing together and keeping the other person up to speed with whatever changes are happening to you.
And you have to communicate with each other.
Right. Let's say if you change, then your spouse can choose to either change with you, stay the same as they are, or change in a completely different direction. The more you communicate with each other, the higher the chances are that you'll be on the same page and change together rather than growing apart.
Yeah, you won't be blindsided by somebody's changing attitudes or opinions about things.
Right.
And so I think our last point that we've thought of is figuring out your partner's love language.
What does love mean to them, and how do they want you to show it and express it? Assuming that what you like is what they like, and them assuming that what they like is what you like can be a source of conflict. And for instance, Donald loves being surprised. He loves surprises, and that's how he perceives that I love him, is if I surprise him.
Well, it's like that sort of adage of like, oh, I'm thinking of you, and...
Right. Whereas I hate surprises, and so if he tries to surprise me, I hate it. I get upset, and I'm like,
God,
and he thinks he's being super affectionate to me, but I
don't ever try to plan a surprise party for this one.
No. So I don't interpret it as affectionate, whereas if I don't surprise him, then he'll think I'm neglecting him. You know, so now what I have to work on is surprising him, whereas he has to work on not surprising me, and we sort of go against our natural instincts of what we think being loved means.
Which is hard sometimes. I mean, it is a source of conflict from time to time, but you have to understand your partner's way of being loved.
Another example is if you're having a fight, some people actually want to just be left alone to sort of
cool down
and be left alone with their thoughts and kind of ruminate on things and then come back. Whereas some people want to be chased after. They don't want to be given distance. They want to solve it right then and there and don't need to have that distance. So you figuring out what the other person needs and what they actually want is very important, because if you chase after someone
and they don't want to be chased,
they don't want to be chased, they want to be left alone,
can make a bigger conflict.
Exactly. Whereas someone who wants to be chased and you leave them be, they can get even more upset. Like, oh, why didn't you chase after me? And why did you leave me alone? We're not going to say which one of us is one of those, but one of us is one and one of us is the other. And this is something that we figured out.
And it takes time to figure out what it is your partner needs to be loved and what you need to be loved.
Right. Even if it doesn't make sense to you, if your partner has told you this is how they want you to show your affection, and if you have told them, it's up to the other person to kind of acknowledge that and understand that, even if it doesn't make sense to you, even if it seems like completely ridiculous and goes against your logic. Everyone's different, and your logic doesn't apply to the other person's logic. If it's something that you can deal with and you can change your ways a little bit and make that adjustment, I think you should go ahead and do it. And if it's something that you cannot tolerate and you're like, no, I don't, like, I will surprise you no matter what, or like, then you're probably not with the right person. It's all part of the give and take of the relationship dynamic and the magical and beautiful work of maintaining a relationship and cohabitating with a different human being, continually appreciating each other and sharing your lives together.
It's hard work, but
I think it's worth it. Yeah. So anyway, that's it for our discussion.
Obviously, we'd love to hear what you thought and what sort of factors play into what you think make a sustainable relationship.
Right.
We're always learning, so we would love to hear what you thought.
Exactly. We're certainly not relationship experts, and these are just some of the factors that we've thought of that help us maintain a sustainable relationship. And let us know what other questions you want discussed in the future. Until next time,
Bye.
Bye.